If you want to learn to stop smoking to go to movies, I think I can help. My name is Bill. I'm an ex smoker. I quit smoking about 15 years ago, but I remember going to movies when I was a smoker, and I remember the challenges that it posed. First of all, like when I was younger, most movie theaters did have smoking sections. It was kind of common that the movie theaters back then were larger. They weren't the multiplexes that we have these days. And very typically, there'd be a balcony section and a lower section. And very often, the balcony section would be the section for smokers. And then when some theaters were only one level, generally the back so many rows, back 20 rows, we'll say, were reserved for smokers, and then the rest of the theater was for non-smokers. Now, I'm sure if you were anywhere near that line and you were a non-smoker, I'm sure that the smokers certainly won out in that battle with the amount of smoke that was probably being puffed around and that people in front of that breathed. Again, they depending on the movie, they may have been there with their children and everything, so it must have been a real mess. Several things I remember at the time too that I never could figure out. There was really no provision as to what to do with your cigarette when you got done. So most people would just drop it on the floor and try to step it out. But remember, movie theaters are sloped down to allow people better vision of the screen. So I remember it happened to me quite often. You drop it on the floor and it roll away before you could step on it. And you only hope that it didn't end up somewhere where it could end up starting a fire. The other thing that was crazy that people used to do is they would take the cigarettes and they would kind of push them out on the seat ahead of them, which would leave all this, black soot there. And then ultimately they would just drop the cigarette butt and that would be on the floor. It always surprised me that people didn't like throw a jacket on the seat in front and the hood came over where the cigarette was or had been pushed out, or somebody's hair. I'm amazed that there weren't more fires those days. So, but I mean, we're not like that anymore. So these days, and the way it was more recently when I still smoked, is you'd go to a movie and you'd sit there, and after 20 minutes, well, first of all, you puffed on the way in as much as you could. Then you'd sit down, and after about 20 minutes into the movie, especially if it wasn't really holding your attention, your mind would start thinking about smoking a cigarette. Now, I remember one of the worst things that I could do was to eat during a movie. So if we had popcorn or a candy bar or something, if I ate that, as soon as I got done, I'd have cravings where I wanted to have a cigarette. So that was really one of the worst things I could do. So I avoided eating or having anything in the movies. I avoided it like the plague because I didn't want that extra stress. But it was almost impossible to sit through an hour, hour and a half movie or longer without craving a cigarette. And your options are really limited because I don't think movie theaters look too kindly of you leaving a theater and going outside to smoke and coming back in. I've not seen it. Maybe some do, but I think that's kind of a stretch. So, really, this kind of leaves a smoker in a very bad way. I mean, people enjoy the experience of going out in movies. People go on dates. People go on to go out with friends. There's a certain social aspect of going to a movie theater that's not quite the same, even though you can see almost any movie on your tablet or your TV at home these days, and for a lot less money. You still don't get the same experience as actually going to a theater, and it's loud and it's dark and it's big, and it's kind of, you're paying for partly the experience, but that experience doesn't include the cigarettes. So it is just so hard for people that smoke to go to movies and thoroughly enjoy them because you can't just turn it off and turn it on as you want. So if you enjoy movies and you like to go to more of them and you like to be able to go without the pain, if you will, that's associated with it from smoking, when I quit smoking, what I had done a number of years ago is I wrote down everything I did and how I felt, and I was successful with a minimal amount of issues when I quit. And now, years later, I've decided as I'm getting near retirement to put this all together as a program and make it available to help others. I do believe it will work. It will cost you less than the price of a carton of cigarettes in most places. And I know it works. I literally bet my life on it. So if you want more information, please click one of the links around this video. And I look forward to seeing you as a non-smoker.